Barcelona's relentless summer sun had dipped below the jagged silhouette of the Sagrada Familia that evening, casting long shadows across the glass-walled offices of Harlan and Associates, the American consulting firm that had planted its flag in the heart of the city's Example district 5 years ago. I'd arrived here straight out of grad school back in Boston, chasing the promise of adventure in a city where gaudy's whimsy met the straight-edged ambition of Wall Street transplants. At 28, I was the youngest senior analyst, the one who crunched numbers until they bled stories, tales of market shifts and corporate gambles that kept our clients, mostly U.S. tech giants eyeing European expansion, one step ahead. But numbers never lied like people did, and lately the lies were piling up like unpaid invoices. Bryn Harlan was the reason for it all. 42, with the kind of poise that made boardrooms hush and competitors second-guess their bids. She was the firm's founding partner who traded Manhattan's concrete canyons for Barcelona's mosaic-tiled streets. Her office overlooked the Passeig de Gracia, where luxury boutiques whispered temptations to the elite, and she'd furnished it with mid-century modern pieces shipped from Brooklyn. Clean lines, leather accents, a reminder that no matter how deeply she'd rooted here, her soul was still stamped Made in America. Tall and commanding, with blonde hair streaked silver like lightning over the Pyrenees, Bryn had eyes the color of aged whiskey, warm enough to draw you in, sharp enough to cut you open. She'd hired me on a whim during a video interview, citing my thesis on sustainable supply chains as the kind of fresh thinking that doesn't grow on olive trees. From day one it was clear. She saw potential in me the way a sculptor eyes raw marble. Our days blurred into a rhythm as reliable as the hourly tolling of La Sagrada's bells. Mornings started with cortados at the corner cafe, where Bryn would sketch deal strategies on napkins while I nodded, absorbing her vision like parched earth drinks rain. Afternoons were marathons of spreadsheets and strategy sessions, her voice a steady anchor amid the chaos of bilingual negotiations, Catalan firebrands clashing with pragmatic Madrid suits. Evenings, when the office emptied and the Mediterranean breeze carried hints of salt and jasmine through the open windows, we'd linger. "One more slide, Sam," she'd say, her hand brushing mine as she pointed at a projection, the touch electric but fleeting, always explained away as accidental. It wasn't accidental. Not after the team-building retreat in the Costa Brava last spring. We'd hiked the cliffs of Cap de Creus at dawn, the sea crashing below like applause for our shared silences. Over paella that night, under a sky stitched with stars, Bryn had opened up. Not about deals but about the fractures beneath her armor. Her divorce from her college sweetheart, a Wall Street banker who'd mistaken fidelity for a negotiable clause. The daughter she'd left in New York with her ex for just a year, that stretched into 5 birthdays marked by video calls and guilt-laced gifts. "I built this firm to prove I didn't need anyone," she'd confessed, her voice soft against the waves. "But some days it feels like I'm proving it to ghosts." I'd listened, my own ghosts. A string of half-hearted dates back home, the ache of being the reliable one in every friendship, mirroring hers. That night as we walked the beach our shoulders touched, and for the first time neither of us pulled away. Back in the office the spark ignited quietly. Stolen glances over conference tables, her laugh lingering when I cracked a joke about tapas portions being a metaphor for European bureaucracy. Late nights became our ritual. The merger with a Valencia-based logistics firm, codenamed Operation Olive Branch, demanded 18-hour days. We'd order in from La Paradeta, fresh seafood piled high, and talk. Not just tactics but dreams. She wanted to expand to Lisbon next, weave a network across the Iberian Peninsula like the veins of a leaf. I confessed my secret ambition. To write a book on ethical globalization, the kind that put people over profits. "You should," she'd said, her eyes locking on mine. "The world's short on stories that matter." But stories have twists, and ours was brewing in the undercurrents. Whispers in the break room about Bryn's inner circle, how she favored me with plum assignments, the plum that was the lead on Olive Branch. Javier, our prickly CFO from Bilbao, shot daggers whenever I presented. Elena, the HR lead with her impeccable bob and sharper tongue, suggested in a passive-aggressive email that perception matters as much as performance. I brushed it off. Jealousy was the spice of corporate life, but it gnawed at me, a doubt like grit in an oyster. The hook that pulled me under came on a Thursday in July, the air thick with the promise of a heat wave. We'd nailed the merger pitch that morning, a flawless hour in front of the Valencia execs via Zoom. their nods turning to handshakes sealed over virtual champagne. The office erupted in cheers, kava corks popping like fireworks, and Bryn pulled me aside in the supply closet of all places to say, "You were brilliant, Sam. Couldn't have done it without you." Her hand on my elbow, thumb tracing a slow circle. My breath caught the scent of her perfume, bergamot and sandalwood, filling the narrow space. "Team effort," I managed, but my voice betrayed me, husky with the weight of what unsaid. That night, as the city pulsed with the distant thrum of summer festivals, she texted, "Office. Now. We celebrate properly." I arrived to find the floor dark save for the glow from her office, a bottle of Rioja breathing on the desk, 2 glasses poured ruby deep. "To Olive Branch," she toasted, clinking her glass to mine. We talked for hours about the deal's ripple effects, how it'd fund scholarships for local women in STEM, a cause close to her heart after mentoring her daughter remotely. The wine loosened tongues. She admitted the loneliness of leadership, the way success felt like standing on a cliff, wind howling. "You're the first person in years who sees me, not the title," she said, her gaze steady, vulnerable. I set my glass down, heart pounding. "I see you, Bryn. All of you." The words hung, heavy as the humid air. She reached across the desk, fingers intertwining with mine. And in that touch the world narrowed to the space between us. The spark that had smoldered for months now flaring into something undeniable. We leaned in, lips brushing in a kiss that tasted of wine and revelation, soft and searching. A promise whispered in the quiet. But promises, like mergers, come with fine print. As we pulled back, breathless, her phone buzzed on the desk. A photo notification. Her daughter, beaming at a school play in New York, tagged with a message from her ex. "She's asking for you. When are you coming home?" Bryn's face shuddered, the warmth fleeing like a receding tide. "I should go," she murmured, releasing my hand. I nodded, the moment fracturing, but as I left, her whisper followed. "This isn't over, Sam. Not by a long shot." Little did I know, the real over was just beginning. The weeks that followed were a fever dream. The kind where joy and dread tangle like lovers in a storm-tossed bed. Bryn and I navigated our new reality with the caution of diplomats brokering peace in a powder keg. Publicly, nothing changed. I was still Samantha Reyes, the whiz-kid analyst. She, the unflappable CEO. But privately, in the stolen interstices of our days, we carved out a world all our own. Mornings now included coded texts. "Need your input on Q3 projections," masking "Meet me on the roof for coffee," where we'd sip espressos amid the potted lemon trees, her fingers grazing my wrist as she outlined the day's battles. Evenings bled into walks along the Ramblas, blending into the throng of street performers and flower sellers, our hands brushing in the crowd, a secret Morse code of taps and squeezes. Barcelona conspired with us, its labyrinthine streets a perfect veil. We'd duck into hidden patisseries in the Barri Gothic, sharing ensaimadas dusted with powdered sugar, her laughter light as she wiped a flake from my lip. "Your trouble, Reyes," she'd tease, her American accent clipping the Spanish syllables just so. And I was falling harder with each shared glance, each late-night call where she'd read poetry from her battered Lorca collection, her voice weaving verses of duende and desire. For the first time I felt seen, not as the overachiever patching her family's immigrant dreams with straight A's and scholarships, but as Samantha. Flawed, fierce, alive. Yet the office was a sieve leaking suspicions. Javier cornered me one afternoon in the kitchenette, his cologne cloying as his insinuations. "Bryn's playing favorites, eh? Careful, chica. Glass cliffs are steeper here than in your Yankee towers." I laughed it off, but his words lodged like a thorn. Elena's emails grew pointed, seeing the whole team on team equity guidelines. Her subtext as clear as the Mediterranean on a calm day. Even our allies, like Marco the IT guy with his endless supply of bad puns, raised eyebrows over lunch. "You two are thicker than gazpacho lately. Spiel." Bryn dismissed it all with her trademark pragmatism. "Let them talk," she'd say during our rooftop escapes, pulling me close enough to feel the steady thrum of her pulse. "We've got bigger fish. The Lisbon expansion's greenlit. Imagine it. You and me, scouting sites along the Tagus." Her visions were infectious, painting futures where work and love intertwined like the vines on a Catalan vineyard. We dreamed of balance, her finally bringing her daughter Lila to Europe for a summer, Me introducing Bryn to my abuelita's secret recipe for arroz con pollo, a taste of Miami's little Havana transplanted to my tiny flat in Gracia. But dreams like deals falter on hidden clauses. The betrayal slithered in on a crisp October morning, the kind where the Sirocco wind strips leaves from the plane trees lining our street. I'd woken to Bryn's text. Emergency board call.
8 Uhr morgens.
Coffee after? Excitement bubbled, perhaps the final olive branch signatures. Instead, I arrived to find the conference room a war zone. Laptops aglow, Javier pacing like a bull in the ring, Elena scribbling notes with venomous efficiency. Bryn sat at the head, composed but pale, her eyes flicking to mine with a plea I couldn't decipher. The call was with Harlan and Associates New York board. Faceless suits who'd funded our Iberian leap. Their voices crackled through the speakers laced with accusation. Irregularities in the Valencia due diligence, Bryn. Numbers don't add up. And who's this Reyes pushing the projections? Smells like insider favoritism. My stomach plummeted. I triple-checked those figures, cross-referenced with public filings and whispers from our Valencia mole. But as Javier pulled up slides, my slides time-stamped with late-night edits, discrepancies glared. Inflated projections on shipping routes, understated risks from port strikes. Forged. Not by me but someone with access to my files. Bryn's voice cut through, steel-edged. This is a glitch. Sam's work is impeccable. We'll audit internally. But the board wasn't buying. They demanded a full review, suspending Olive Branch pending investigation. As the call ended, the room erupted, Javier crowing about lapses in judgment, Elena murmuring to HR about personal entanglements compromising objectivity. Bryn adjourned with a bang of her fist, her gaze locking on mine. My office. Now. The door clicked shut, and the dam broke. It's not you, Sam. I know that. Her hands trembled as she poured water from the pitcher, splashing droplets like tears. But doubt crept in, insidious as fog off the harbor. Who then? Marco swears he didn't touch the servers. She hesitated, that whiskey gaze clouding. I don't know. But we'll fix this. We didn't talk about us, not then. The kiss from months ago felt like a relic from another life. Instead, we plotted defense, poring over logs, interviewing staff discreetly. Nights stretched, our ritual coffees turning to black coffee and takeout sobras from the bodega below. Tension coiled, her touches withdrawing to professional pats on the shoulder. I ached for the woman who'd quoted Lorca, but got the CEO stealing for Siege. The fracture widened 2 weeks later, at the firm's Diada de la Hispanidad Gala. A black tie nod to Columbus Day rebranded for local sensibilities, held at a restored modernist palace in the Bourne district. Bryn had insisted I attend as her right hand, a velvet rope around our alliance. I slipped into a borrowed emerald gown, simple lines echoing her style, feeling exposed amid the chandeliers and Catalan flags. She arrived late, stunning in midnight silk, her arm linked with a silver-haired venture capitalist named Victor Lang, a New York import scouting partnerships. My chest tightened as they glided through the crowd, his hand possessive on her waist, her laugh tinkling like forced crystal. Whispers followed. Bryn's playing the field. Smart move with the board sniffing around. I nursed a cava, the bubbles bitter, until she found me by the tapas spread. Sam, meet Victor. Old acquaintance from the firm days. His grip was clammy, eyes appraising. Heard you're the brains behind Olive Branch. Impressive for a junior. The evening blurred into toasts and tango demos, but Victor clung like barnacles. When Bryn excused herself for a call, he sidled close. She's vulnerable now, you know. Divorce left scars. But a girl like you? You'd be wise to step back. Venom and silk. I excused myself to the balcony, the night air cool against my flushed skin. The city sprawled like a jeweled map below. She found me there, the door creaking open. Sam, wait. Echoes of that elevator night. But this time her words tumbled. Victor's pitching a bailout. Board loves him, old boys network. It's politics, nothing more. Politics. The word soured the air. And us? Is that politics too? My voice cracked raw. She stepped closer, the balcony railing digging into my back. Rain threatening from the east. No. God no. You're everything. Her hand cupped my cheek, thumb tracing my jaw, and for a heartbeat the world righted, lips meeting in a kiss fierce with desperation. rain beginning to patter on the stone. Then her phone lit up. Lila's face video call. Bryn pulled away, guilt-etching lines around her eyes. I have to take this. She vanished inside, leaving me drenched in more than rain, the seed of betrayal taking root. By morning the emails flew. Olive Branch revived under Victor's oversight, my role reassigned to support. Javier's smirk in the hall confirmed it. He'd been the saboteur, Victor's pawn for a bigger stake. But Bryn's silence cut deepest. When I confronted her, door ajar, I overheard. Can't risk it, Victor. Not with the investigation. Sam understands professional boundaries. Click. The line went dead like my heart. Betrayal, sharp as a stiletto, plunged deep. She'd chosen the firm, the facade, over us. I tendered my resignation that afternoon, the words blurring through tears. Effective immediately. Grateful for the opportunity, but integrity demands I step away. Her reply came hours later, a single line, please. Let's talk. But talking couldn't mend what was shattered. November swept into Barcelona like a melancholic guest. The leaves turning gold and crimson along the avenues, mirroring the fire in my veins. I decamped to a sublet in the Sarria Sant Gervasi Hills, a stone's throw from the frenzied but far enough to breathe narrow streets lined with Art Nouveau facades, the air crisp with the scent of roasting chestnuts from street vendors. My days dissolved into freelance gigs, remote audits for Boston startups, enough to pay the rent on my one-bedroom with its wrought iron balcony overlooking terraced vineyards. Nights were for wandering the labyrinth of the old city, losing myself in the echo of flamenco guitars from hidden tableaus, the music a catharsis for the ache Bryn had carved into me. Resignation hadn't been easy. Abuelita called from Miami, her voice thick with worry over crackly line. Mija, you don't run from storms, you dance in them. But dancing felt impossible when the rhythm was betrayal's staccato. I'd replayed that balcony kiss 1,000 times, the rain mingling with our tears, her promise whispered against my skin. We'll weather this. Lies all of it. Victor's bailout had sailed through. Olive Branch rebranded as his pet project, with Bryn at the helm, her emails to the team polished with gratitude, my name a footnote in the acknowledgments. Samantha's contributions were invaluable, she'd written. Invaluable. As if I were a line item, expendable. The city, once our conspirator, now mocked me. Every corner cafe evoked her laugh. The Sagrada spires pierced the sky like accusations. Friends, Marco with his conspiracy theories about Javier's dark web dealings. Elena, who'd confessed over vermouth that she'd suspected the sabotage but feared reprisal, urged reconciliation. She's a fortress, Sam. But fortresses have gates. I nodded, but the gates slammed shut the day I saw them. Bryn and Victor, arm in arm at a gala afterparty in the Hotel Majestic, paparazzi flashes catching her strained smile. The tabloids hummed. Harlan Eris Hook's power player, Iberian romance blooms? Power player. The irony burned. Isolation bred clarity though, and with it resolve. I channeled the hurt into my book, the one Bryn had championed, outlining chapters on corporate ethics, weaving in anonymized tales of favoritism's fallout. Words poured like confession. The thrill of forbidden glances, the sting of sacrificed love for ambition's altar. It was therapy, raw and unfiltered. The manuscript growing to 50,000 words by December solstice. Bryn's attempts at contact were relentless. Texts at dawn, miss your fire in meetings. Voicemails laced with regret. I was wrong. Let me make it right. Even a care package delivered to my door. A first edition Lorca inscribed. Duende lives in the broken places. Come back. I left it unopened, the weight too heavy for hands still trembling. The climax crashed on Christmas Eve. The city alight with pessibres and paroles, families gathering under the weight of tradition. I'd planned solitude. Mulled wine in my laptop, finishing the ethics chapter on the cost of compromise. But fate, that capricious Catalan spirit, intervened. A knock echoed through my flat, sharp as a judge's gavel. There she stood, Bryn, snow-dusted from the rare alpine flurry, cheeks flushed against the chill. No Victor, no armor, just a wool coat over jeans, eyes shadowed with exhaustion. Samantha. My name on her lips, a plea. I should have shut the door, but the hook of her vulnerability, the same that had reeled me in months ago, held me fast. What do you want, Bryn? Everything. Nothing. You. She stepped inside uninvited. the scent of pine and her perfume invading my space. The flat felt smaller, charged. Victor was a shield, Sam. A desperate play to save the firm, to save us from the fallout. But it cost me you, and that's a price I can't pay. Words tumbled. The investigation's twist, Javier's confession, bribed by a rival firm. Victor's strings pulled from New York, demanding her commitment for the funds. She'd played along, hating every feigned smile, every strategic lunch, all to buy time. I ended it last week. Told the board. No more games. If they want Harlan and Associates, they take it with integrity, or not at all. Her voice broke. Lila's coming in January. Permanently. I want you there if you'll have me. Not as employee. Us. Tears welled, hot and unbidden. You chose them. Over me. Over this. I gestured wildly, encompassing the fragile dream we'd built. She closed the distance, hands framing my face, thumbs brushing away salt tracks.
Isho survival.
But surviving without you is death by inches. Her forehead pressed to mine, breath mingling, the space between us a chasm bridged by shared sorrow. We talked till dawn, words unspooling like thread from a loom. My fears of being the other, the shadow in her empire, her terror of repeating past mistakes, of loving too fiercely only to lose. Vulnerability stripped us bare. No CEO, no analyst, just two women scarred by ambition's blade, seeking solace in truth. As the first light gilded the hills, she whispered, I love you, Sam. Not despite the chaos, because of it. The admission hung sacred. I leaned in, our kiss tentative at first, then deepening with the forgiveness of absolution. Soft explorations, hands tangling in hair, bodies aligning like puzzle pieces long separated. But peace is fleeting in drama's theater. As we parted, her phone buzzed. The board's ultimatum delivered via urgent email. Resign or face dissolution. Your distractions have gone too far. Attached. Screenshots of our texts, the rooftop coffees, twisted into inappropriate conduct by Elena's diligent HR logs. Betrayal's second strike from within. Javier was gone, but the vipers multiplied. Bryn's face hardened, resolve igniting. They think they can bury us? We'll rise. She pulled me to the balcony, the city awakening below, paroles twinkling like defiant stars. Fight with me, Sam. Not for the firm, for us. For the story we deserve. I nodded, heart swelling with a love fiercer than fear. The conflict wasn't over. It was evolving from personal fracture to shared battle. We'd face the board together, expose the manipulations, rebuild on ground untainted by deceit. But as sirens wailed in the distance, a premonition chilled me. Some wars leave no victors, only survivors bound by scars. The new year dawned with the ferocity of a bull charge, Barcelona's streets thrumming with the cacophony of Capdini, firecrackers popping like gunfire, families toasting with cavas under the stroke of midnight. Bryn and I had rung it in on my balcony, her arms around me as we devoured 12 grapes for luck, each burst of sweetness a vow. No more half measures. Lila arrived 2 days later, a whirlwind of 13-year-old energy, freckled like her mother with Bryn's whiskey eyes and a backpack stuffed with New York comics. So this is Spain? She'd quipped, eyeing the tiled floors. No snow, but I'll take the chocolate con churros. Bryn's laugh, genuine and unguarded, filled the flat as we three wandered La Boqueria, sampling Jaman and recounting Lila's school escapades. For stolen hours, we were a family, tentative and tender, my hand in Bryn's under the market's awnings, Lila oblivious to the undercurrents. But the board's shadow loomed, a guillotine over our fragile idol. We lawyered up. A sharp Barcelona firm specializing in corporate malfeasance, their offices in the Raval district smelling of espresso and old leather. Evidence mounted. Javier's emails to the rival, Elena's selective logging of concerns, timed suspiciously with Victor's overtures. Bryn's resignation threat backfired. They countersued for breach of fiduciary trust, dredging up our relationship as Exhibit A. Tabloids feasted. CEO's scandalous affair sinks ship. The American press piling on with headlines like expat tycoon's lesbian liaison, love or liability. Strangers stared on the metro. Marco texted warnings of office leaks. The toll etched deep. Bryn aged in dogged determination, silver streaks multiplying as she shuttled between depositions and Lila's school enrollment. I'd taken the book leave, channeling fury into revisions, dedicating a chapter to love as leverage. When personal truth becomes corporate ammo. Lila sensed the strain, her chatter turning to quiet questions. Mom, why do people hate happiness? Bryn's answers, whispered bedtime philosophies, broke my heart. They fear what they don't understand, me more. But we build anyway. Our love, tested, deepened into something resilient. A quiet force amid the gale. Mornings we'd steal moments in the kitchen. Her brewing café con leche while I braided Lila's hair. Our eyes meeting over the steam with promises of endurance. Evenings, after tucking Lila in with stories of gaudiest dragons, we'd collapse on the sofa, bodies entwining in exhausted comfort, kisses that spoke of solidarity, hands tracing maps of scars, emotional rather than flesh. No grand gestures, just the humanism of showing up. Me attending her strategy sessions as consultant. Her reading my manuscript drafts with notes like "this cuts like truth, publish it." The climax erupted in February, under skies heavy with Levant winds that whipped the sea to froth. The arbitration hearing convened in a sterile chamber off the Placa Catalunya. Fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets. Bryn and I sat side by side. Her in a power suit the color of storm clouds. Me an understated gray, united front. The board's counsel, a slick Madrid import, paraded witnesses. Elena, tearful with feigned regret. I only wanted to protect the firm. Victor, smug in his pinstripes. Personal matters clouded judgment. They painted us as villains. Bryn the seductress, me the ambitious ingenue. Flinging our texts like shrapnel. Bryn's testimony was a masterclass in controlled fury. You want to crucify love? Fine. But you'll do it on facts, not fiction. She dismantled their case piece by piece. Audited logs proving the sabotage predated our affair. Elena's emails timestamped post-resignation as revenge. I followed, voice steady despite the vice on my chest. Integrity isn't a line item. It's the spine of everything we build. You twisted mine to prop up yours. The arbitrators, grizzled Catalan jurists with no patience for Yankee drama, leaned in, scribbling furiously. As closing arguments wrapped, Victor cornered us in the hall, his whisper venomous. You'll regret this, Harlan. New York's a small pond. Bryn's retort ice cold. Then swim elsewhere. But victory's aftertaste was ash. Driving home through lashing rain, Bryn gripped the wheel white-knuckled. What if we lose the firm? Lila's school, the scholarships, gone. I covered her hand. Then we start over. Together. That's the real win. The ruling came swift 3 days later. Board dissolved. Assets returned to Bryn with injunctions against the conspirators. Headlines flipped, Harlan triumphs. Ethics over empire, but the cost lingered. Elena decamped to Madrid, Javier to obscurity. Victor slunk back to New York, his bailout dreams drowned. Harlan and associates re-emerged leaner, refocused on ethical consults with me as partner equals not hierarchy. Spring unfurled gently. Cherry blossoms dusting the parks like confetti for our quiet triumph. We moved Lila into a sunlit flat near the beach in Barceloneta, walls echoing with her laughter and the waves' lullaby. Bryn proposed one April evening on the sands of Nova Icaria, not with rings but with Lorca's book, a passage underlined. I want to do with you what spring does with the cherry trees. Merime, Sam. Not for show for us. Tears mixed with sea spray as I said yes, our embrace a seal against future storms. The book launched that summer dedicated to B. Who taught me love is the ultimate merger. It sold modestly but sparked panels in Madrid and Lisbon, voices for women navigating glass mazes. Bryn joined one in Barcelona, her arm around my waist on stage. This is my partner in every sense. And she's the story worth telling. Years blurred. Lila thriving in bilingual school, her art echoing Gaudiesque curves. The firm expanding to Portugal, scholarships blooming like vineyards. We weathered squalls, boardroom battles, Lila's teenage tempests, the ache of distance from my family, but each forged us stronger, our love a humanism etched in persistence. On our 5th anniversary, atop Montjuic under a harvest moon, Bryn pulled me close. We almost lost this. I traced her silvered temple. But we found more. The city sprawled below, a testament to reinvention much like us. In the end, it wasn't the drama that defined our story, but the quiet grace of choosing each other, again and again, in a world that too often demands surrender. And in that choice we found our ever after, not flawless but profoundly unbreakably human.